Picture this. You're wandering down a cobbled street lined with colorful houses, their window boxes overflowing with flowers. A bell tower chimes in the distance, and you can almost hear the whispers of centuries past. Most travelers know Europe's big names, Paris, Vienna, Prague, but what about the hidden storybook towns, the ones that don't make it onto your average Instagram bucket list? Today, we're going beyond the cliches to explore Central Europe's real-life fairy tales, towns so enchanting you'll wonder how you'd never heard of them. And don't worry, there are no dragons here. Well, probably. Hallstatt, Austria, a lake straight out of a painting. Nestled on the shores of a glacial lake and backed by the Austrian Alps, Hallstatt is the kind of place that looks suspiciously like someone painted it for a postcard. The houses, with their wooden balconies draped in flowers, rise in tiers from the water's edge all the way up the mountainside. In the early morning, mist curls over the lake like a veil, and church bells echo across the valley. It's hard not to feel like you've stepped into another world. But beneath all that beauty lies a story of salt. Hallstatt has been a center of salt mining for over 7,000 years, earning it the nickname, the oldest salt mine in the world. Salt, or as medieval folks like to call it, white gold, made this tiny lakeside village surprisingly powerful. You can still visit the tunnels carved deep into the mountains, where generations of miners chipped away at the rock by lamplight. Imagine living in a time when a single mineral defined your town's fortune. These days, Hallstatt is a tourist magnet. In fact, a replica of the town was even built in China. Yes, really. But despite the crowds, if you stay overnight and watch the fog roll across the lake at dawn, you'll find a kind of fairy tale magic that day trippers never see. It's the kind of place where you half expect to see a rowboat drift out of the mist carrying a cloaked stranger. Or maybe that's just the effect of the local schnapps. Český Krumlov, Czech Republic, a medieval stage set. Just south of Prague, tucked into a bend of the Vltava River, lies Český Krumlov, a town so photogenic it feels like someone designed it specifically for film sets. Its Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque buildings spill along the winding streets, all watched over by a sprawling 13th century castle perched on the hill. That castle isn't just big, it's a city in itself. With grand halls, hidden courtyards, and one of the world's oldest still-functioning Baroque theaters, Český Krumlov's castle is like a time capsule. Step into the theater and you'll see stage machinery that dates back to the 1600s, wooden pulleys, hand-cranked contraptions, and even original painted backdrops. Imagine being an audience member back then, watching elaborate shows by candlelight, the whole room flickering with shadows. The town itself feels alive in a different way. By day, it bustles with cafes, galleries, and riverside restaurants. By night, when the lanterns light up the cobblestones and the crowds thin out, Český Krumlov turns into something else, a medieval dreamscape. It's easy to lose yourself wandering down quiet alleys where ivy creeps over stone walls and you catch the faint sound of music drifting from a tavern. Unlike Prague, this is a place where you can breathe. And if you float down the river on a summer evening, you'll see the town reflected in the water like a painting, the castle glowing in golden light above you. You almost expect a knight on horseback to come galloping across the bridge, hopefully not charging you a toll. Slovakia isn't usually the first stop on most travelers' lists, but that's exactly what makes Banská Štiavnica so special. Nestled in an ancient volcanic caldera, this town has been shaped by fire and metal. Once one of Europe's richest silver mining towns, it boasts a fascinating mix of medieval and Renaissance architecture. At its height in the 18th century, Banská Štiavnica was so important that it attracted scholars, engineers, and entrepreneurs from across Europe. The town's mining academy, founded in 1762, was the first of its kind in the world. Students studied everything from geology to hydraulic engineering, and their innovations influenced mining techniques for centuries. Imagine being a student here, walking past miners still hauling silver out of the ground, and then heading into a lecture hall to learn about the latest invention for draining flooded tunnels. These days, Banská Štiavnica has reinvented itself. Its old mining tunnels are now tourist sites, and its Baroque squares are lined with quirky cafes, bookshops, and art spaces. The town is home to an alternative, creative community that has turned its industrial past into inspiration for the future. There's a palpable sense of reinvention here, a kind of phoenix rising from the ashes energy. And yes, there are plenty of places to grab a strong cup of Slovak coffee while you contemplate how you'd have fared as an 18th century silver tycoon. Sighișoara, Romania, where legends walk. Now, if you like your fairy tales with a touch of Gothic mystery, Sighișoara in Transylvania is your town. This perfectly preserved medieval citadel is more than just a pretty face. It's the birthplace of Vlad the Impaler, better known as the inspiration for Count Dracula. Yes, this is where fact and legend intertwine. The town is a maze of pastel-colored houses, defensive towers, and cobbled streets that climb the hillside. Each tower was once guarded by a different guild, the shoemakers, the tanners, the butchers, and today many are open to explore. The clock tower, with its colorful tiled roof and intricate mechanisms, still dominates the skyline, just as it has for centuries. But Sighișoara isn't just about Dracula. Every summer, the town hosts a medieval festival where knights in armor clash in mock battles, musicians play lutes, and fire breathers light up the night. The whole town becomes a stage, and for a few days, you can genuinely feel what life might have been like centuries ago. Minus the plague, thankfully. Walking through Sighișoara at night is an experience in itself. Lanterns cast long shadows on the cobblestones, bats swoop overhead, and the old fortified walls seem to whisper stories of sieges, trade, and daily life in a medieval stronghold. It's romantic, eerie, and utterly unforgettable. Telč, Czech Republic, a painted fairy tale. While Prague dazzles with Gothic spires, Telč is all about color and harmony. This UNESCO World Heritage town is known for its central square lined with Renaissance and Baroque houses painted in pastel shades. Think of it as a fairy tale stage set, but one that's lived in for centuries. The town's beauty is partly thanks to a devastating fire in the 16th century that destroyed much of it. Tragic at the time, it gave way to a complete redesign in Renaissance style. Today, the square feels almost theatrical, with arcaded walkways, ornate facades, and reflections shimmering in the ponds that surround the town. On a still day, the mirrored effect is almost surreal, like a painting that decided to duplicate itself in water. Legends swirl around Telč too. Locals still whisper about underground tunnels rumored to connect the town's houses. Some say spirits wander the arcades at night. Whether or not you believe in ghosts, there's no denying that Telč carries an atmosphere of quiet enchantment. If Český Krumlov feels like a medieval stage, Telč feels like a Renaissance dream.
In the Alsace region of France, Eguisheim is a tiny village that looks like it fell out of a storybook. Built in concentric circles around a central square, it's a labyrinth of half-timbered houses painted in warm colors: ochre, turquoise, blush pink. Flowers spill from window boxes, and narrow lanes twist and turn like ribbons. Eguisheim has been called one of the most beautiful villages in France, and it's not hard to see why. But beyond its looks, it carries a fascinating history. It's the birthplace of Pope Leo IX, who became one of the most influential medieval popes. Imagine a boy growing up in this sleepy, wine-producing village who would later rule the church and reshape medieval Europe. Today, Eguisheim is known for its wine, particularly Gewürztraminer and Riesling. Wander into a cellar and you'll find yourself tasting crisp, aromatic wines poured straight from oak barrels. Add in the local storks nesting on rooftops, and you've got a setting so charming it's almost suspicious. Honestly, if Disney ever needs a new model village, this would be it. Civita di Bagnoregio in Italy, the dying fairy tale. Now, technically not Central Europe, but too magical to leave out. Civita di Bagnoregio in Italy. Perched on a crumbling cliff, connected to the world only by a narrow pedestrian bridge, this dying town looks like it belongs in the clouds. From a distance, it's breathtaking. A cluster of stone houses floating above the valley. Founded by the Etruscans over 2,500 years ago, Civita has survived earthquakes, landslides, and time itself. Yet somehow, life persists. A handful of residents still live here, and visitors cross the bridge to wander its winding lanes, stone archways, and sunlit piazzas. There's something haunting about Civita. It's beautiful, yes, but fragile too. A reminder that even the most enchanting places are not eternal. Maybe that's why it feels like the ultimate fairy tale town, because it's fleeting, suspended in time, a jewel that could vanish tomorrow. From Austria's alpine lakes to Romania's Gothic citadels, Central Europe hides more fairy tales than any storybook could hold. These towns are living reminders that magic doesn't just belong in legends. It exists in cobblestones, in bell towers, in morning mist, in the taste of wine poured by a local who's lived here their whole life. Next time you think of Europe, don't stop at the capitals. Go further, wander the hidden lanes, listen to the whispers of old walls, and you might just find yourself in a fairy tale of your own.